Good afternoon and welcome to the Maximising Value for Pupils Power Hour. The Department for Education, the Maximising Value for Pupils programme will support the white paper aims and directly help to achieve and thrive by helping to get the best value from challenging budgets to ensure money is directed to where it's most needed and important, and that is into the classroom. Next slide, please. Some housekeeping before we start. Please use the question and answer function to ask any questions. We are unable to answer questions specific to a trust, school, etc. We may not publish similar questions, so please use the like button to upvote any questions you would like the team to answer. The session will be recorded. Slides and the recording will be shared after the event. There is a quick Help Us to Improve survey at the end of the presentation, which we would like you to complete. I will now hand over to Chris Mills to commence the presentation on maximising value for pupils.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tracy. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to see so many of you take the time out to dial in today. So thank you so much for your time. I'm Chris Mills and I head up the Maximising Value for Pupils Comms Engagement team here at the DfE. I hope you take from today an understanding of our Maximising Value for Pupils programme and some of the support that sits within it. I also look forward to hearing from you through the Q&A and after this as well through the feedback form as to whether there is any further support you would like to see the DfE introduce as part of this programme, as this is just the beginning. It is an iterative programme and your insights are crucial in helping to shape future support. You'll hear from my colleagues Bel, Chris and Gayle on some of the specific support around energy, banking tool and as well as our sustainability work. And I hope you manage as well just through this to meet new colleagues and use it as an opportunity to share best practice. Next slide, please, Sam. Thank you very much. So school leaders, yourselves, know the pressure of stretching budgets while delivering great education. The Maximising Value for Pupil programme, which was launched in December 2025, was created with government and the education sector to break down the systemic barriers that stop schools and trusts getting best value for money. This is a shared mission. Schools are already making tough decisions, we know that, and are already using resources wisely with brilliant examples of innovation across the country. Our role in government is to spread that good practice and remove the obstacles that no single school can tackle alone. We'll take on the national system-wide issues that drive up costs, securing better energy deals, for example, fairer supply staff rates and stronger banking options. These are challenges government can address at scale. We'll also support schools and trusts with richer benchmarking data and new deals and services that genuinely help their budgets, freeing up more money for teaching and learning. This programme ultimately is about partnership. So the government, us, DfE, we are stepping up to tackle the big systemic challenges, working with yourselves to truly unlock the full value of our collective resources and expertise. Next slide, please, Sam. So let me take you through how we're going to make this happen in practice. So I mentioned there we're tackling the system drivers of costs through 4 key areas. These aren't arbitrary categories. They represent the areas where we know we can make the biggest difference and where schools, SPPs, the likes have told us they need support. So first is a commercial pillar. So this is helping schools get better value from their purchasing from supplies to services. Second, we have assets. This includes reserves. So this is around supporting schools to make the most of their physical assets and manage their reserves strategically. Third, we have the workforce. So this is around ensuring resources are used as effectively as possible. And I mentioned there around supply within that. So where can we really truly unlock that value with supply agency? And fourth, developing capabilities. So this includes digital and technology, as well as some of the training offers that the DfE provide. So we're building on what's worked before. Many of you will be familiar with the Financial Benchmarking Insights tool. We're updating and expanding this to provide even more comprehensive data, including workforce data that allows schools to compare their spending with similar institutions and identify opportunities for better value. We're going much further than this as well. We're pointing schools towards new services and deals that we've negotiated centrally. We're using government's collective purchasing power to secure terms that individual schools or even trusts simply couldn't achieve on their own. But we're well aware this isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. We recognise that every school and trust is different with different challenges and different starting points. That's why we're providing a range of support that schools can draw on based on your specific needs and circumstances. Next slide, please, Sam. So I'm going to go into some of the support as part of this programme. As I mentioned, one of the big challenges that we heard continuously was the supply energy costs, and I'm pleased to say the new framework is due to go live in May 2026. So each individual agency has submitted a bid against this rate card that you can see on the slide under the framework agreement. These figures are the maximum an agency could charge, and we advise reviewing actual rates submitted. So rate caps there that you see, they're against the agency's profit margin, not the amount paid to the supply workers. And a typical cost breakdown is daily worker pay, on cost, so that's pension, national insurance, and supplier fee. So previously, these could have been £65 plus per candidate off framework. So this is the element of the cost that we have capped. So the use of this framework agreement will be mandated in the 2026 Academy Trust Handbook, and further guidance will be published soon for exceptions to that mandate, as well as compliance when it comes to monitoring. Next slide, please, Sam. I'll get help buying for school service. So this is a gateway to all our procurement services, a free and a compliant service to help you buy for your school, trust or academy. You can browse a list of all the DfE frameworks, deals such as the DfE Energy, which you'll hear more on soon, solutions and catalogues. We have a team of procurement operation experts on hand to support schools and trusts when it comes to procuring goods and services. It can help with end-to-end procurement from specifications through to tender. It's helped over 5,000 schools to date and resulted in millions of pounds saved. And further benefits of the service include time savings, reduced burden on yourselves as individuals, on schools and trusts, and we also recommend, when using the service and contacting the team, that if you're looking to procure something larger and more complex, that you provide a lead-in time of 6 to 12 months. Next slide, please, up. Many of you will no doubt be familiar with the School Resource Management Advisors. They are, for those that aren't, they are independent and accredited advisors, not employed directly by the DfE, with significant experiences in managing resources in the education sector. All School Resource Management Advisors have been through an accredited process. They are trained to look at resources available to schools and trusts, and as well as recommend more efficient ways to provide the highest possible education standards and better life chances for children. It's important to note here that recommendations are not mandatory and visits are flexible based on your availability, and we try and match where possible skills and experience to your settings and needs. Those visits can cover a range of topics from, as you can see on the right hand side, from financial governance through to HR and recruitment. Advisors may be practicing school business managers and school leaders currently working in schools or academy trusts. They might be consultants or working for themselves. It's free. That's the main thing for all schools and trusts. They are funded by the DfE. Local authorities, though, this is where it differs, must confirm approval for all visits to local authority maintained schools before an SRMA visits. If you do have any further questions or interested in arranging a visit, then please contact the team. We have all the details within the slides, which, as Tracy said, will be shared after. Next slide, please, Sam. So after today, these are some of the things we could take away here. Why not look at some of these services you'll hear more about? So regarding the banking and energy for school service, there's real benefits and the practical and immediate results. So these include reduced costs on everyday purchases, better returns on reserves, smarter spending decisions, and expert advice when you need it. Whether you're a maintained school or academy trust, the programme provides free tools and support to help you achieve better value. Can you move on one, please, Sam? And then finally, before I hand over so you can hear more regarding the energy service, I just want to say that we do have a number of these learning opportunities, these webinars, these power hours, these are run continuously through the term. So please do keep up to date. You can sign up to our school business professional newsletter. There's a link within that slide to find out more about these sessions. And as Tracy said, these slides will be shared, and I've included a slide just around the useful links to the wider support as part of this programme, to hopefully save you the hardship of navigating our gov.uk pages. So I'll try and endeavour to answer as many questions as possible as we're going within the Q&A function. So please drop your questions in as you go. Aside from that, I will now hand over to my colleague Bel to discuss energy.
Thanks, Chris. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining today, as Chris said. So I'm here with my colleague Annette Harrison, and we're going to give you a bit of a brief overview about DfE Energy for Schools. If after today you would like some further information, there are webinars that are dedicated to DfE Energy for Schools, and we'd encourage you to sign up to find out more and ask any questions that you may have if you think of them outside of this session today. So next slide, please, Sam. I guess just to give you a flavour about where this has come from and why we felt that this was important to support the sector. The problem, I think I'm going to go back to the Ukraine war back in 2022, but I guess that's been superseded by the Middle East conflict that is very much alive and in the news, which we'll all have seen at the moment now. These types of conflicts we know have impact on energy and fuel prices there, which instantly, I guess, we all start to feel both from a business and also from a personal perspective in there. But just a bit of context around it from a school perspective. The energy spend back in 2020 was 0.6 billion. And then by the time the Ukraine war and today has taken place, the annual spend is around £1.3 billion per annum. So such a significant increase there that as the sector is exposed to around in terms of those costs. One thing that what we've done as part of our research, and if we're thinking about why did we choose energy as a category to look to support yourselves as the sector, energy procurement is challenging. We know it's complex. We know that volatile pricing is out there, and the market conditions, being as volatile as they are impacted by global events, not least the recent events in the Middle East. What we have seen is prices have fluctuated over the last 12 months since this service has been there. So it's absolutely something that we feel passionate about supporting and guiding you through your energy procurement to make sure that you get best value. We simplify it for you, and we reduce the risk exposure for yourselves. One other part of the research that we'd identified at the time was that there was a significant reliance on third-party intermediaries. Some obviously had the school's best interest at heart, but that's not always that. We found that was not always the case. As part of this service, what we're looking to do is explore opportunities not just for the energy on your energy supply, but how can we support you in moving to decarbonisation, net zero, and reducing your energy consumption. So they are all things that we have on our long-term plan. We know that building relationships sometimes with the suppliers and the brokers was often quite challenging. What we're looking to do is leverage our buying power and our position as the department to build those relationships for the greater benefit of the sector out there. So we'll talk a bit further on in our slot around our strategic supplier relationship management and some of the activities that we have in train with them, and ultimately driving continuous improvement. We are providing account management and service support to help you navigate some of the challenges with onboarding, swapping supply, to reduce the burden for you. Ultimately, we are a point of escalation in that space to help you get the right outcomes there. So next slide, please, Sam. So what are the benefits of DfE Energy for Schools? So we are partnered with CCS, and they purchase the energy up to 30 months in advance, and they buy when the price is right in terms of that. So currently for our customers that have joined the basket last April, the energy that's been bought in 25-26 has all been purchased upfront, and their prices are protected despite the changes in the market prices. We've talked about shielding from the extreme volatility, and this is the evidence of that. And if we're looking forward into April 26 onwards, a high percentage of that energy that's required for the sector has already been purchased. So hence why that is we have the long lead-in times and the sign-on times on there. So that enables CCS to buy the energy when the price is right. Ultimately, that ensures that across your financial year, the prices are stable and actually can help inform your planning. What we are also doing is we are working with some other public sector buying organisations who offer similar types of buying advance baskets, so that actually we have opportunities out there for you to make a choice on which product is right for you, but actually protecting you in the long run. So moving forward, where are we going with the service? Next slide, please, Sam. So we recognise this service is early in its days. We've been running for nearly 1 year after pilot. So April 25 was the service launch. We're now obviously approaching April 26. So this year has been definitely a year of learning for us. But what are our focuses for the next 12 months and beyond? So ultimately, we want to expand that service to make sure that a higher proportion of schools are protected and mitigated and assured from and protected from those price spikes and the volatility out in the market. We want to drive continuous improvement through the service. So we know we might not get everything right at the first pass, but actually we're here to support you and drive that and drive through those improvements. So what do you want and what would you like to see from us? So actually that'll be part of the next stage. Recognising that energy is quite complex, we've arranged for a number of teachings through our suppliers. So one of the areas, for example, is non-commodity costs. So non-commodity costs, particularly in electricity, make up a high percentage of your bill, but actually understanding why and how we can help shape those and influence them that is just an example of one of the things that we are looking to do and work with yourselves and the suppliers there. Energy dashboard reporting. So energy dashboards, understanding your consumption, your prices, and maybe where some of those peaks and troughs are. That's one of the things we have on our list of things to do that we're looking to roll out over the next 12 months so that you have more visibility of your spend in those peak times. And we'll be working with the suppliers as well as yourselves to drive that one forward. The next stage in terms of that is obviously extending that into the sustainability and climate action plans. And I know Gayle's going to talk to you a little later in this call about sustainability. Energy consumption obviously is quite a key part of our move to net zero and sustainability. So we're cognizant that we need to join that all together for you to help make that simpler. And then finally, on the decarbonisation, how can we work with our suppliers to drive better value for yourselves and support those move to decarbonisation, including solar and electrical vehicle EV charging points in there. So that's it from me. I'll hand over to my colleague now, who will take you through the next part of our slot.
Thanks, Bel. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Annette Harrison. I work on Bel's team on the energy team. So just in terms of where we've moved to now. So since February 2026, the Energy for Schools service is a live service. It's now transitioned into our Get Help Buying for Schools team. And it's now supporting around 1,000 schools that have currently onboarded. We're also working closely with suppliers through our strategic supplier relationship management, which Bel alluded to earlier. And that just ensures that we deliver value beyond that contract. So an example of this is a recent opportunity for schools to bid for £5,000 social value fund from Total Energies. So they promoted that opportunity to schools, and a school was successful, and it's been a really good news story. We're also engaging with public sector buying organisations to make sure that schools are informed about other options, about energy deals and the alternative offers that genuinely represent that value for money. So the DfE are actually assessing those opportunities and making sure that they do deliver value for money if it's just another option for you to consider. And our overall aim is just to ensure schools have a trusted and compliant and fair route for energy buy-in and removing that reliance on those unregulated third-party brokers. But ultimately, we do want schools to have a choice, but be protected and supported throughout. Next slide, please. So I've just put up here a selection of case studies that evidence the benefit depth of the Energy for Schools service. So many schools who took part in our case studies have seen tangible savings, and they also reported that the DfE energy team provided a hands-on supportive service, and they managed that heavy lifting and give leaders the confidence that the processes were done compliantly. But importantly, these savings and efficiencies support schools' broader aims, like preventing staffing cuts and protecting that educational delivery. Next slide, please. So it's really straightforward to apply for the Energy for Schools service. There are routes tailored to individual school circumstances. And the process manages that transition from your existing contracts, and it's designed to keep the burden on schools to a minimum. It is important to note that schools remain responsible for understanding your current contractual arrangements. If you are a local authority maintained school, then you must seek approval from your local authority to move your existing energy contract. If you are already on a CCS contract, then we can novate you directly onto our V30 basket. It's quite a straightforward process. So information and support are available via the DfE Energy for Schools webpage, which all the links are on this slide. There's also a Buying for Schools blog that provides more information about the service, and we've also included our team's email box. So if you think of any questions after this session, then please reach out to our team separately. So single schools and single academy trusts can apply through the online digital tool. It's really straightforward, takes about 10 minutes to complete. If you are a trust, we ask you to complete a short registration of interest form, and one of our team will contact you and walk you through the process. But the aim is to make us onboarding as simple as possible, and you will get guided support from start to finish. So thank you. That's it from me. I think I'm handing over to Chris.
Afternoon, everyone. So my name is Chris McGunnigle. I'm a commercial lead within the Department of Education, and I'm here to talk to you about your banking arrangements. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just as a start for 10, there's a couple of questions I want you to just have a think about. Typically what we find is that once you open a bank account, you know, if you were 16, 18 years old, you opened a bank account, chances are you're probably still with the same bank. And we find that schools are exactly the same. So I guess the question we're kind of asking the sector to have a look at is the banking structure still right for you? Are you taking advantage of what your bank can offer you? Is your banking structure still right for you? Do you have too many accounts? Could you streamline that? Could you reduce your admin burden? Could you make your cash work a little bit harder? There's a significant amount of cash at hand in the sector, and what we are looking to do is try to make that cash work harder for schools. So how much of it is sitting in your current account? Could it benefit in higher interest in either shorter term treasury deposit accounts from number in a couple of weeks? Could it earn interest? Have you got a sum of money earmarked for a project that could be earning interest until that project takes place? As what I will caveat is say we won't offer financial advice is a regulated activity, and we do have pages on our gov.uk pages. You can find financial advisors if that's where you want to go as well. We've also got a savings management platform that we're recommending as well, and I'll come to talk a little bit about that as well. But I'm going to talk to you about how we've developed the comparison tool to try and take away that shopping around activity and make life a little bit easier. Next slide, please, Sam. So this tool was developed off the back of quite a level of engagement with sector bodies, academy trusts, and we spoke to some local authority maintained schools around their level of autonomy that they potentially have as well, to look at how they can make the money work a bit harder. What we've done is we've engaged with a number of banks and building societies, and we've used their information to populate a comparison tool. It's a very simple comparison tool. The link's on the slide. You go in there, you input how much cash you want, how much cash you have, how much cash you potentially want to lock away, and how long for. And then the comparison tool will give you an order of interest that you could potentially earn, available banking accounts that you could take advantage of. It's completely free to use. You can use it as many times as you want. We update that tool after every Bank of England meeting. We update that tool. We ask the banks to keep us updated when they add products or pull products as well. So it's as up to date as the banks will tell us. It's got around 90% coverage of the school sector of who they use. We are looking at adding more banks and building societies into that tool, so that we can take advantage of some smaller and local building societies, for example, and other banks that may align more with whatever your treasury management or investment policy could be, so that we've got something for everyone, an option there for everyone. You don't need to switch bank to open a savings account with another bank. So that's been one of the key misconceptions that we're trying to make schools more aware of. Like with other procurement, things take time, and one of the key feedbacks we had from our user research was, I just don't have the time or capacity to shop around. So this comparison tool is designed to try and shortcut that and help. And it can lead to real savings. Even small amounts can earn interest throughout the year. Depending on how complex your arrangements are, you may wish to open multiple savings accounts for multiple banks. We don't do that, but we won't do that on your behalf. But what we will have done on our pages is just present some guidance as to what you need to look out for, how you can prepare, how long that would take. There is a summary of the offering from each bank on that comparison on those government Get Help Buying for Schools pages as well. All of the banks that appear in the tool are FCA regulated. UK registered banks and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority and the Prudential Regulatory Authority as well. And we also have a savings management platform where if you're looking to diverse your savings and you want to reduce your admin, you can potentially fill one form in with that savings management tool, and you'll have access to numerous banks when you can see which accounts are right for you. With our comparison tool, it is free to use, but you will have to go through the Know Your Client and onboarding with each individual bank. With savings management platforms, typically there are costs involved in that, and that will either be typically fees or a percentage of the interest earned goes to that. But it can be a real-time saver, and it gives you opportunity to layer those accounts as well. So just to move on to the next slide, please. Thanks. So that we found that this can really move the dial and make money work hard. So we've got some 3 case studies in here who have been part of either our working group or have used the tools. We've sort of developed the solutions that we're asking schools to have a look at. Some quite significant numbers involved in that. Some very interesting solutions. So credit balance aggregation. So that is, for example, where you have multiple bank accounts and you've got one interest rate being paid across the entire structure. Savings management platforms have allowed layering, so have multiple accounts open, and as they mature, the interest as you move that money to where it's best suited for you. Seen schools as well have money that they've earmarked for projects, they've locked away for a fixed term and then a competitive rate of interest. And I guess the key thing in this is to take this away and look at either a savings management platform, but especially a comparison to, and use that as a starter for 10 and have that conversation with your incumbent bank, so that you can start to see whether or not you can make that money work a little bit harder. So there's some significant gains to be made depending on the cash at hand that you typically hold. Do I have another slide? Sorry. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions as they come through. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gayle Boulton and I head up sustainability at the Department for Education. Just move to the next slide, please. So as part of the department's sustainability and climate change strategy that was published back in 2022, we set out priorities for the education sector, working with stakeholders. We identified the elements that the education service as a whole could support in terms of sustainability and climate change, and education has a real role to play in a sustainable future. Now, speaking to various different stakeholders, sector bodies, we heard where sustainability was really embedded. There are incredible benefits to student engagement, to costs, and to the resilience of the estate as well in terms of immediate climate risks and extreme weather events. So the strategy very much reflects the realities on the ground, but also reflects the fact that not all education settings, not all schools are set up to prioritise sustainability and climate change with the many different competing demands. So we've put in place support to help with that. So I will just talk you through that today. Next slide, please, Sam. So having a climate action plan and a sustainability lead was set out within the strategy and is now part of the estate management standards that were published earlier this year. A climate action plan should cover 4 key pillars of action. That's adaptation and resilience, to ensure that the education setting and the service as a whole is resilient to climate risks and is able to make small or even large adaptations to manage that risk. So these might be sustainable drainage systems, or it might be more permeable surfaces. The next one's biodiversity, so thinking about the nature on the education estate and recognising that not all schools have enormous fields, but there is still opportunities, even in the most grey spaces, to bring in nature and increase biodiversity and find opportunities to connect children and young people with that. There are many, many wellbeing benefits for doing so. Climate education and green careers. As part of the education strategy, we know we need to prepare children and young people for the future, and that future will be different and there will be different opportunities. And we want to ensure that all children, regardless of their background or where they are in the country, have the opportunity to engage with those future opportunities that may be presented because of the innovations with regard to climate change. And finally, decarbonisation. Bel's already spoken about the importance of net zero, but also the opportunities for considering how we're using energy in schools to reduce costs. Next slide, please. So various different kind of opportunities. So when we were talking to schools through the development of the strategy, where we saw that action was having the best impact was where a coordinated effort was taking place, where a sustainability lead or a sustainability group from across the school, from the curriculum, from estates, from catering, and all elements were working together to identify opportunities. And where they were doing that, they normally had a plan that made sure that they were actually taking action. So having a climate action plan is really based on best practice. We do understand that many schools have already got a plan in place, so there's no need to create a new one. There isn't a template, because what might suit one school would be very different to another, depending on where they are in terms of their sustainability journey or the kind of support or priority that they're able to give to this action. But what's important is that a plan does exist. It might be part of another bigger plan that you have in terms of a school improvement plan or asset management plan, but it does actually cover those 4 areas. And this can really drive financial savings. It can enhance pupil well-being. It can enable improved operational infrastructure through better purchasing, catering choices, and also better long-term planning, particularly around climate resilience. Thank you. The next slide, please. But there is a wealth of free support available to education settings from early years all the way through to further education that you can access beyond the support that DfE funds. So the National Education Nature Park, Sustainability Support for Education and Climate Ambassadors working closely with Let's Go Zero. But there are also many other local organisations and national organisations that are mainly working together to help to improve the capability and to support the capacity of schools to engage with sustainability. Next slide, please. So the Sustainability Support for Education online service is a great first place to start if you're thinking about what kind of actions you can take. It helps you find relevant actions that's suitable for the particular context of your school, and it helps you bring together your climate action plan. Everything that you'll be signposted to through that service has been quality assured by education professionals and also by sustainability professionals as well. It supports practical actions and it promotes that whole setting approach so that you can take a holistic view of action and thinking about how you can drive that through the school. Next slide, please. Climate Ambassadors and Let's Go Zero provide on-the-ground support. So if you feel like you need more help in embedding sustainability or would like some support with either putting in place your climate action plan or delivering an element of it, these are the great places to go to get that support. So you can access specialist expertise at no cost, and they will help you actually bring that expertise to deliver real improvements. So, for example, they could mentor teachers, they offer workshops, they might be able to deliver particular lessons on climate change and sustainability. They might be able to talk about careers in the green economy. Alternatively, climate action advisors at Let's Go Zero can actually work with your school to put in place a climate action plan, identify measurable actions, and help you monitor those so that you can actually see the impact that those are having. Next slide, please. And finally, the National Education Nature Park provides lots of opportunities for you to build the biodiversity and education elements of your climate action plan. The Nature Park brings together all the estate, the grounds, to think about that as one virtual nature park where we can increase biodiversity and find brilliant opportunities to engage children and young people in learning about that space and thinking about how they can kind of take a part in improving the nature around them. So giving a real sense of agency. Through the National Education Nature Park, there are also many free curriculum linked resources tailored for each phase, and also those are quality assured as well by education and climate professionals. There are also small capital grants for eligible settings. You will have been informed if your school is available for a capital grant, and that will help put in place small pupil-led projects to enhance biodiversity, whether that's raised beds, ponds, and those kind of things. We're seeing real benefits in terms of engagement and well-being for those participants of the National Education Nature Park, with some schools saying that it's also impacted positively on behaviour and attendance too. Next slide, please. And so finally, if you would like to find more support and you'd like to get involved, please do take a look at the websites available. You can request support from a climate ambassador, start putting together a climate action plan using the Sustainability Support for Education online service, and access brilliant educational resources and activities through the National Education Nature Park. And you'll be able to see if your school is already signed up on the virtual map. There is also guidance online, sustainability leadership and climate action plans to tell you more about climate action plans, what they should include, and signpost you to some excellent case studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our presenters. Now we have a session on questions to the panel. I can see that some of you have already asked questions in the Q&A. Please continue to put your questions in there. For those that have asked a question and the presenters have asked them, is there any that you would like to, any of the answers you would like to expand on? Chris, Annette, Gayle? Or if you have any frequently asked questions in your area that you would like to let us hear about, that would be useful.
Hi Tracy, it's Annette here. So yeah, there's been a couple of questions come through on the chat, mainly about, you know, schools wanting to show interest in the Energy for Schools service, but do they have to commit to sign up? I think it's fair to say that, you know, we have got a dedicated team who will provide more information about the Energy for Schools service in relation to your specific circumstances. So please reach out to the team. You don't have to commit. You can find out more information about it. We're also willing to do a benchmarking activity. So we have committed to other schools to look at historic bills over the last 12 months against what they would have paid had they been on the DfE energy service. And that just gives you an indication of the type of savings that you could be realising. I think the other big question that's not been asked, but it is asked a lot at the webinars, is around for the V30 basket, which you would be joining. There is quite a strict window for joining, and it's April every year. So the next time you can join is April 2027, and we would have to have you onboarded by the middle of September this year. So it's worth finding out what your current arrangements are to prepare for that onboarding in September, and then you would automatically move over to the V30 in April 27. If your contracts do not end on the 31st of March 2027. If your current contracts end in October, for example, you can still join the DfE service, but you would go on an interim rate. Now, the interim rates are market dependent, and you would be fixed on your interim rate for the period from when your current contract expires until you join the V30 basket in April 27. But we can provide you with more information. We can give you some indicative costs and what the current market rate is if you contact one of our team. So I think they're the main questions, Tracy, that we've had in the past.
Thank you, Annette. Chris, is there anything that you want to add?
Yeah, so I will just say that the comparison tool that we've got is a dish to be free to use, also contains current accounts, which savings management platforms typically don't. We've been asked the question. I'm just trying to get out there just now on the typical levels and deposit levels required. So that will vary depending on the banking product that's there. If it's probably a good idea to look at our comparison, and you'll get a typical idea of the range of deposit levels required to access certain levels of interest rates. What I will also say is that the comparison tool is really a starter for 10, and what we have found is that schools and trusts who have approached either their incumbent bank or the bank directly can typically negotiate better arrangements as well. So very much take ours as a sort of benchmark in the standard to start from, as opposed to a final product. Like I say, the rates are subject to change, and the Bank of England in future could reduce interest rates, which will make potentially the earnings less. But as I said, it's depending on what you take to the banks, it's a really good idea to go there with the full structure you've got, what your cash flow looks like, and just making it work harder in the sense of not keeping so much of your balance in a current account, which typically doesn't earn very much. So yeah, we've had some really good feedback from schools using that as a starter and getting much better arrangements for that discussion with their account managers and with looking at other banks.
Thank you, Chris. Is there anything that you want to add, Gayle?
Nothing for me.
Oh.
I just, oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. Just to say that there are more than 10,000 education settings now accessing support for sustainability. So I think that's kind of testament to how helpful it is, and also recognising that we do know that it's difficult to know where to begin and that there's a huge amount of information out there, so it can become quite overwhelming. So please do access Sustainability Support for Education site. I'll pop the link in the chat for you. But it's a great place just to kind of simplify the journey and to make it easier to know where to begin or where to go next, and to have confidence that those actions that it's suggesting and the information that it's signposting you to can be trusted and is relevant to the education sector.
Thanks, Gayle. Chris Mills, is there anything that you want to add before we move on?
Hello. Nothing specifically, Tracy, but just a plea really that this is a two-way conversation, and I'd really encourage them to reach out either directly to me or the team with any ideas or any insights that they wish to share or any barriers that they're facing, or likewise, Helen has mentioned as well. If they want to join any of our networks or anything like that, then please just reach out to me or the team, and we're happy to have a discussion. And just thank you again for taking the time to dial in today out your busy schedules and listen, and hopefully you found it of value.
Thank you, Chris. Next slide, please, Sam. Yeah, as Chris has mentioned there, yeah, help us to improve, what we provide. There's a link to the feedback survey. It takes just a minute. We'd especially like to know sort of which DfE tools are most useful to you and what would make the biggest difference to your school or trust. And if you have any further questions, you can contact us via our Maximising Value at education.gov.uk mailbox. Next slide, please. We also have a blog, Buying for Schools blog, Buying for Schools on LinkedIn. And again, as Chris mentioned earlier, you could sign up to the DfE School Business Professional contact list where we send out information. Next slide, please. And we also have a QR code on this slide where you can share your ideas and feedback with DfE. So this is across the DfE services. So help make DfE services work better for you and your colleagues by sharing your thoughts with our dedicated team of user researchers. Next slide, please. And just a few useful links on here. The slides will be sent out to you following the session, so you will have access to this information. And also we have, look out for our next Power Hour, which is the Net Capacity Assessment Programme, which will be on the 30th of April, and it's already been advertised via Eventbrite. So that really concludes the session for today. Thank you very much to the presenters, and thank you for joining us, and hopefully we will speak to you soon. Thank you.